and we back. And Marvel's Avengers. Okay, Marvel Avengers just had a Q&A. They've got a lot of things going on right now, communicating a lot more as of late. And lucky for you, I've taken notes. Let's go, kalika loud. Now, wherever you're at, I appreciate you listening and spending time with us. You could be anywhere in the world, and you're here, and I appreciate that. If you can, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, drop a comment. Those things are really important. I'm getting views on this, and I'm surprised because I'm just talking to the internet at this point, and that's fine. I hope everything's good with your family, and everything's great with mine as of right now. So let's get into it. Marvel's Avengers just had a Q&A with the head of studios. It was Scott Amos, and we've seen before the social media manager, Andy Wong, and they got on for about 30 minutes. And the idea was to take questions that were given to them and go ahead and answer these questions. So Scott answered the questions. Andy went ahead and gave him the questions. To me, it seemed like Scott didn't know the questions were coming as far as which ones, which is good. I saw in the comments a lot of people thought they were fluff questions, and I'll try to maybe get into that a little bit more towards the end. But I'm going to go ahead and give you, for the most part, the answers and the questions, give or take how the flow of it is. But if there was something I missed, it wasn't that I missed it. It was a question, something similar to an answer of something that we already know the answer to. It could be something like, hey, do you guys really like this game and you spend time on it? And they said, yes, we like it, and we spent a lot of time. I just didn't think it was worth writing it down. So we're going to start off with bugs. The number one thing they want to focus on is bugs. They want to make sure the game in general is running the way they intend it to. So that's bugs, glitches, exploits. That's people's skills not working the way they're supposed to. You still have a bug for the Hive trophy on PlayStation 4, and they still understand that PC has not been as stable as they would like it to be, and they're working on that. So they want everyone to know that the reason why a lot of the stuff was pushed back and there is no roadmap necessarily yet is because they just don't want to say something for a date and have to change it again. And I completely agree with them, because right now, the way the player base is, if they were to tell you that a certain character or a mission was going to come out and they had to move the date, it is not the same as Cyberpunk, where you're just so impressed with what Cyberpunk is going to bring to you that you're okay with them pushing it back. That you understand, or you've learned the situation with the term crunch time, that you're fine with pushing it back, or that you've played the previous games the studio has put out, and so you have a certain trust with them. So go ahead and push it back. So I do understand what they mean by, hey, look, we don't want to just say it's going to come out and we've got to change it. There was a question about replaying the story mission, which I believe was a question that was asked when Andy and CD Phil went and did their stream about a week ago, and that question was asked again, and the answer is yes. They are working on an ability for us to replay story missions, and they're actually testing that right now. So it's not really a conversation at this point. It's something that's actually physically done in a build. Some games have different servers and they have different progressions of the builds or the patches or updates that are coming out that they'll play and tweak on it. So it's good that this is a part of it, probably a bigger patch, if not a part of KD's new content that's coming out later. The other thing they talked about was more stories for the heroes. Yes, they are going to come out with more stories for the heroes. I know we kind of had that cliffhanger of an ending with Loki and Thor and different characters or whatnot kind of being hinted at. And what they're saying is there are more stories. They also wanted to remind everyone that every mission that you see is a connection to the storyline that you did. Now, I believe, in my opinion, why they said that is they understand that there is a need to streamline or to communicate that better, as when you're playing the end game, it's almost like you don't really know what the end game is. It's like a bunch of tasks that are mapped out everywhere. And what the player base wants is they want it to feel linear. And I think if it is linear to a certain extent, that they'll understand that these are all one full stories instead of a bunch of other stories are going on. They asked if we're going to get more cutscenes, and the answer was yes. You're going to get more cutscenes, and what I mean by cutscenes is the cutscenes that you got from Miss Marvel, where you didn't really have to play anything. You did something in the mission, and then you just sat back and watched the voice acting and how they put that together and directed it. There will be more of that, and they're saying you're going to get that next dose or batch of them when Katie comes out. And when she does come out, you're going to get content that is going to put you in a cutscene or what her level is. Well, some of it will be solo and some of it will be co-op. So that was something different, because when you did the storyline with Miss Marvel, it was completely solo. So with Katie, you're going to be able to, I don't know, I'm saying Kate, whenever you use Bishop, you'll be able to play that solo or co-op. I don't know how far on co-op. I don't know if it's 4 players or just 2, but that is something different. The 6 superheroes that we started out with originally, they're going to get more on their skill tree. And there's a possibility that every character is going to get more on their skill tree, because remember, their power level is capped. And I think the rumor is that it could go up 2 or 3 more times on their power level or their gear set. So yes, they did say there's more for the skill tree. There's more that they want to do for the hero. So that's something that's coming. They talked about backwards capabilities on the next gen systems, and that it won't be a problem on launch day. You'll be actually able to play it right out of the box on the next gen systems, and you'll also have the ability to cross save. And so that's good that you'll be able to, use it for cross save, and that's big. Now, to me, sidebar, cross save is going to be something you're going to hear for the next year or two, really big as companies are transitioning over, to be able to say, hey, look, when you're playing on the current gen, to be able to grab your things and move over to the next batch of games, or the next game to the next system, that your save data will progress. Some of them developers, some of them are doing it free, some of them are charging. I think what I saw from one developer, it might be Call of Duty, I could be wrong, let me know in the comments, it was like $10 to move over your save. So this is going to be something that's going to be big. Now remember, the next gen patch, similar to Cyberpunk, does not come out until next year, as they're still working on that. They want to make sure the bugs are set up on that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out maybe March. And I know that sounds kind of, man, that's far away, March. I'm just looking at the fiscal year business wise. And again, I think this studio is really trying to get their stuff together as far as how they're executing. So the next thing I have for you is the bosses. Someone said, hey, look, are we going to get new villains, new bosses? And Scott said, yes, we are. There's going to be new villains, new bosses. When Kate's story comes out, it is going to again create baby steps in the direction they want to go. And you're going to see these baby steps affect more missions and more types of missions and things of that nature. He also alluded to, it looks like he gave us a date on when Kate is going to come out. He says you'll be able to play it for sure before the end of the year. So we can basically say Kate's coming out before December 31st. And, whether you take that as a good thing or a bad thing, I think this is the second date that we had for Kate, because I think originally we tried to guess. If they didn't tell us, it was like, hey, look, the second week of October. Then we were thinking, the war table in November, it'll be right before there. So as of right now, all we know is it will be out before the end of the year. So that means new villains, new bosses. So he specified the 2 were different, and that Kate would add more cutscenes. Her story would be solo and co-op, and that it's going to start putting them in the right direction as far as the direction they want to go. Someone asked a really good question of, did the developers or the people who created this have any plans to just pull out stories from the comics? And as of right now, no. And I don't think it's something they're going to do, because if it's anything like DC fandom was a streaming thing that happened some months ago where you had a lot of people from DC show off games and comics and things of that nature and fan art. And when you look at that, there was a segment they had where they talked to, and man, I cannot remember this guy's name, but he's one of the head people with Marvel, helping to do, movies and comics and drawing and television, everything in between. And this gentleman basically said, or alluded to, in showing how movies get made and television shows, that they all talk and they all know that the stories they have are already done, or maybe new artists and new comic book creators are coming up with new stories, but they sit and kind of talk to say who's going to get, not really the rights, but who's going to get a chance to put this out in television, put this out in a video game, put this out in a movie. And also, how does it intertwine? How does it connect? And I believe Marvel does the exact same thing with their properties. So with this, I believe what they're kind of saying is that they have the ability to use Marvel characters or whatnot, but they have to come up with their own interpretation, their own storyline. Maybe in a previous video, you heard me say that when you played Miss Marvel's storyline, it wasn't the same storyline from the comics. Scott Amos actually said that, saying that they took what Miss Marvel actually did and they put their own spin on it. You heard me make a mention of the fact that we're collecting comic books for power-ups and abilities, but are we going to get the opportunity to actually have those, or the actual cosmetic skins, how they didn't have that connection to the movies or the comics? And this is probably a reason why we're not getting that as of right now. But there's no plans to use anything for the comics other than the characters themselves, to look at the stories and then interpret it or direct it from there. He also let us know that the story, for the most part, was all done before they really started putting this game together. And that's a good thing, that there was writing and there was script or a storyboard for this. It wasn't something like the game was made and then the writers were called in to come up with something on the fly. So that was cool. And I'm trying to think, looking through the notes, I think that was it for it. Again, like I said, it was 30 minutes, if that. To be honest, this is the part where I let you know what it seemed like the community was feeling. The community felt that it was too short. There was some technical difficulties with the microphone from Scott. Some people said, hey man, it's a $20 mic. Listen how it sounds. Like I said, there's a pandemic going on. There's people who would probably be working at a major studio or, something of that nature, and they're working from home. And they're just trying to communicate, whether it's Andy's plan or someone in the PR department trying to communicate. And it's one of the things we asked for, and they're trying it. So I can't be mad at them. Like I said before, if they got together, I think if they put this every Wednesday and get everything together, I think it works better for them, because one, they're communicating, and two, you can control the communication you're doing. If you were able to, like I said, every Wednesday do the war table, you can do your Q&As on the war table, okay? And if you're going to do these Q&As, and I've looked at the questions, there were some hardball questions in there. You got to take some of those questions. I feel like you just do. And to split up the stream that was earlier and then this creates communication, but it also creates, I don't want to say bad press, but the conversation comes up twice where the community is not happy with what the game is doing, rather than one big time, if that makes sense. So if you have your war table one day, the community is vocal about what they feel about the game, in some ways negative, and that's one time. Instead of you bring it up again, it's not the same thing as you can't help but compare it. Cyberpunk or Grand Theft Auto, when a game like that comes out and they do these little mini, put a picture out or a video, or they do their own little web thing, it creates hype for the game that constantly you can keep adding to. Just like this game first came out, every time they did a war table, it added to the hype, the conversation, good press. That's what it was. So again, they've got to, in my opinion, put this as one thing The Q&A needs harder questions, so it doesn't seem that they're kind of picking what they want out of it. It needs to be edited, in my opinion. You really can't afford a player base that thinks that you shouldn't have this game, or this game is too big for you, or people not playing the game, and then you give them with mic technical difficulties. Why not just do the stream, record it, watch it, and edit it, and make sure that it represents what you're trying to do? I just think it's the easiest thing ever. You could literally do a war table where you're streaming with fans, you're playing the game, you're showing some fan art, you're talking about new contents with the games and things of that nature, and then you finish it off with a Q&A, and then you show some more fan arts, and that's it. And it's all edited. There's no issue with the tech. You're not caught off guard because you just press a button, play, and it says on the bottom that this is pre-recorded. I don't think anyone has an issue with it, because when you turn the comments off, or you do the Q&A at a late enough time, the comments in these blogs are, they did it on purpose so that most of us didn't know what time it was, or it was too late for us to respond, or they turned the comments off over here. And I'm not saying they've done that, but there have been some companies that'll do that. And just like I said, communicate, show the actions that you are communicating, and they're showing actions. They're working on it. But other than that, that was it. I want to say, yeah, that was it. So I know it was a little long on this one. Didn't know how to short it up any other different way. If it sounds like the audio is a little bad, it's just I haven't had coffee this early yet. So, so once again, I hope everything's good with you and your family. I'm hoping that you're enjoying the game and you're putting feedback in, constructive feedback for the devs that are working hard on this game, because they are working hard. Until next time, kalika-lika-lao.